Hey everybody, welcome to the green room for DisrupTV. We found the new Speaker of the House. It's Bart Simpson. Just kidding. Anyways, we're not talking about that. We've got an awesome lineup. And of course, two very intimate guests that we're going to have a conversation about their new best-selling book. So let's go in reverse order. Before we do that, I got my awesome co-host, Vala Afshar, and we've got our amazing producer, Elle. But we'll go to Anne and Francis. Tell us where you're coming in from today and why all the buzz and excitement. So Anne, go ahead. Where are we coming in from?
Yeah, we're coming in right outside Boston in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And we get to talk to you on the week that our latest book was published, which is called Move Fast and Fix Things. And it was a strong start out of the gate. You know, you do these things, you have no idea how they're going to land. And it's been well received. And so we're super energized and excited to be here.
You are so modest. We are talking to the #1 bestseller on Amazon. Francis, tell us where you come in from as well, and what are we talking
about? So Anne is downstairs in headquarters in our house. I'm in the second floor office, which we call Frei Morris North. Mine is it's got nice painting, but it's a really witness protection chic here. This one is filled with technology and is filled with love and art.
I finally had to put a painting up behind her.
We're good to go.
Yeah, no need for ankle bracelets. We're all good.
All right, well, with that, let's kick off this exciting bestseller edition of DisrupTV. All yours, Elle.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us on DisrupTV. My name is Vala Afshar. I'm the Chief Digital Evangelist at Salesforce and your co-host for the next hour. We welcome you to follow us on Twitter X at DisrupTV Show. Send us your questions and we'll do our best to answer them in the next hour. It's my pleasure to introduce my co-host, Ray Wang. He is the CEO and founder of Constellation Research. He is the best-selling author of Everybody Wants to Rule the World. I see Ray on TV just about every day on technology and business news on Fox Business, Yahoo Finance, Bloomberg, CNBC. In my humble opinion, he's one of the top futurists to follow on Twitter at RWANG0. Welcome, Ray Wang, to DisrupTV.
Hey, thanks, Vala. I'm with Vala. As you guys know, he's the Chief Digital Evangelist for Salesforce. He's also the author of The Pursuit of Social Business Excellence. But his new book, Boundless, A New Mindset for Unlimited Business Success, is available now, and you can pre-order. It's one of the top-selling books in economics. But more importantly, around the world, pay attention to every one of his inspirational and insightful tweets. And when he's not hosting, leveraging, keynoting, or leading events at Salesforce, you can find him on business TV outlets and, of course, keynoting events at Salesforce, and, of course, being on Bloomberg and insightful analyses on ZDNet, if not there and more. So, but we've got two best-selling authors and, of course, a #1 book. Who do we have today? What is going on, Vala?
Ray, we have two guests that combined are approaching like 10 million views on TED Talk. So You and I have to step up our game. Francis Frei and Anne Morriss, authors of Move Fast and Fix Things, the trusted leader's guide to solving hard problems. Move Fast and Fix Things was just launched this week. It's already a #1 bestseller, so amazing. Francis and Anne are also co-authors, best-selling books Uncommon Service and Unleashed, and co-host of TED Podcast Fixable, which helps listeners solve their toughest work problems. Francis and Anne have been recognized by Thinkers 50 among the world's most influential business thinkers. Now, please allow me to just a little bit of bio for both. Francis is a professor at Harvard Business School, serves as Uber's first senior vice president of leadership and strategy, helping the company navigating crisis in leadership and culture. Frances regularly works with companies embarking on a large-scale organizational transformation. Her TED Talk, this is when I have imposter syndrome. Her TED Talk on how to build and rebuild trust has over 6.2 million views. You can please follow Frances on Twitter at, must be an early adopter, Frances Frei, F-R-E-I. Welcome back, Frances, to DisrupTV.
Oh, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here with you.
It's great to have you. And Anne is an entrepreneur, leadership coach, and founder of the Leadership Consortium, a first of its kind leadership accelerator that works to help emerging leaders thrive. Anne's collaborators have ranged from early stage founders to Fortune 50 executives to public sector leaders in building national competitiveness. Anne's TED Talk, which only came out like in April, has got over 1.5 million views. Again, Ray, you and I need to figure this out.
There are no slackers.
You can follow another early adopter on Twitter X, Anne Morriss, ANNEMORRISS. Welcome Anne to DisrupTV.
Thank you. Yeah, there are a lot of unnecessary letters in my name, so just double them up if you're trying to find me. Yeah.
You're easy to find, and I'm sorry I had to cut your bio short. That was about 1/3 of what I could have said about your amazing achievements. Go ahead.
Well, hey, we're really excited, right? Move fast and fix things. And you have an amazing podcast, Fixable, that are there. But one of the interesting things is you focused on speed, right? Speed is something that's gotten a bad name in business, especially, and some of it much deserved. But you're going out rehabilitating the reputation of speed. Isn't this the big problem in many companies, the lack of it or the too much of it? So let's start there.
Yeah, it's a really good observation, Ray. So you can go too fast, and that is with the theory of I'm going to move fast and break things. And we see that, and we call that reckless disruption.
God, the whole valley. What's going on here?
I mean, I think that's where it started, and that's where it keeps going back to its roots. And it did give speed a bad name because people thought I either had to be reckless or go slow, one or the other. And what we have found is that there is a third way, which is to move fast and fix things, that you can accelerate excellence if you learn how to go fast. In this accelerating excellence, this moving fast and fixing things, you can go even faster than reckless disruption. So not only did move fast and break things give speed a bad name, it wasn't even very fast. Yeah. So we can go even faster and fix things along the way.
And how do you see it as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think speed's bad reputation was confusing people. I mean, one of the main lessons of our work is that the most effective leaders we know, they're solving problems at an accelerated pace, but they're also taking care of their customers and employees and shareholders along the way. And we wanted to get the word out because this ethos of move fast and break things is still out there and still influencing the decisions that builders and operators are making.
So move fast and be mindful is kind of what you're saying here. So.
Yeah, I like it. But we just like the letter X in fix, and our podcast was already called Fixable, so mindful was just been too off brand.
We're gonna reclaim that letter X along the way.
I like that. I like the letter X as well. So the trade-off between speed and excellence is false. And in your book, you say the best leaders solve hard problems, and you said with words fierce urgency, while making their organization, their employees, customers, shareholders even stronger. But you also talk about that in many companies, you discover people are moving slow. And what are some of the signs that an organization is stalling? And how quickly can you tell when they bring you in to advise them on culture, on trust, on velocity, speed, and direction? Can you tell, like, within minutes, hours, days, that this is an organization that's not in fifth gear? They're kind of, they're moving slower than their full potential.
Minutes, but it's not polite to mention it before hours. But within minutes, you can tell. Yeah,
you probably research before the first meeting, so you already know. You probably already know. Yeah.
The truth is, even without the research, when you walk in, you can feel a hesitation, you can feel a lamenting, almost a distance from the problems. Oh, would that it were we could solve these problems, versus the high intensity, oh my gosh, we have problems that are affecting our most precious resource, our people, and no longer on my watch. how do we overcome it? So you can really feel the metabolic rate of an organization in everything it does.
And it's not just digital immigrants companies. You're talking Uber, WeWork. These are digital native companies. They're mobile, they're social, they're in the cloud. Their tech stack is modernized for the most part. So is it fair to say it doesn't matter if you are a company launched in the last decade versus a company launched 40, 50 years ago?
It does not. In fact, my apologies, Anne. I'll start.
Yeah, no, please.
This is not a technologically enabled metabolic rate. It's whether or not you are leaning in and taking full advantage of your agency.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, what we really wanted, I mean, and it's agnostic to industry or sector. What we really want to do is wherever you are in this map of building trust and moving fast, we're trying to push you to the upper right. So you're moving fast while also building and rebuilding trust at the same time. Now, for advanced learners and operators, there is an optimal sequence. You know, we really say that the payoff of building trust is that you earned the right to move fast because you're far less likely to break things. So we are going to push you, and I know we're going to get into our favorite change leadership metaphor here, which is the week. At the beginning of the week, we are going to, some organizations really need to slow down a little bit, figure out what their real problem is that they're solving, figure out what's getting wobbly in their relationship with stakeholders, and then they need to start sprinting. But if you jump to the sprint without doing that work up front, then there's going to be a tremendous amount of collateral damage. And that's what we're trying to reduce here.
Yeah, actually, that gets me excited because I love the fix map, right? And that's really what the intersection between trust and speed was what you guys were talking about in the book, right? And before we get to Monday, helping to prioritize where we are, I mean, this is really about how you go from the inevitable decline that Vala was asking about, right? That pause, that stall, the reckless disruption in which we are in the Bay Area. Well, I don't speak of all the Bay Area. The responsible.
Yeah, I'm the largest employer in the Bay Area. And we do things very methodically. We apply these principles that we're going to talk about.
The responsible stewardship, that's kind of like the slow pace of Fortune 500 companies today, to getting to acceleration of excellence, right? Moving fast and fixing things. So we get to Monday, and that's when people figure out where all these problems are, how to prioritize what they need to go out and fix things. This is the whole chapter talking about this, is how do we figure out what are the right problems? How do we prioritize? Because emotions get in the way, fads get in the way, all these things start popping up. People are like, oh, we need to worry about this thing. And the root cause and the first principles are totally ignored. Like, how do you fix that? Because some companies forget their mission and they're like, we should go plant some trees over here, but hey, don't worry about our, P&L over here. It's like, what the heck is going on? So.
Oh yeah, Ray, I love that. I mean, you just said so much in your tee up to this question, and we agree completely. I mean, one of the problems with Monday is our own biology. So as human beings, we tend to be overconfident in the quality of our thoughts. That overconfidence grows as we move up in the hierarchy. We feel like we are being paid to have ideas, not to ask questions. And so we're really trying to invite leaders to pivot and bring curiosity into Monday and approach the problems that they're observing with real humility. What you're seeing on the surface may actually not be the root cause and the real problem you need to solve.
So I could be sitting in process fatigue and not know it, and I still can't figure out my problems. What do I do? How do I surface? How do I have that honest conversation that it's broken?
We have a few techniques that we talk about on Monday. My favorite is one that we call the indignities list, which is wherever the problem is surfacing, whatever person or group of people that are there, ask them a version of the following question, which is, what are the nicks or the indignities that you are experiencing? They don't have to be fatal. They could just be small ones, but would you just list out for us the indignities that you're facing? And just when you go in to have that conversation with someone, bring a full pad of paper, a fully loaded pen, and just be prepared to write. And so we get the indignities list, and then the process is really fun and optimistic. We then convert the indignities list to a dignities list. And we look for the ones that cost very little and make a very big impact.
I love that. That
Yeah,
is
we
awesome.
really want you to be in direct dialogue with people who have a stake in your problem.
Yeah.
So what we like about this exercise is the indignities are usually signals of bigger underlying issues. But when you go through the process of surfacing them and then take action to address them, they're usually fast, cheap, and easy to correct. When you take those actions and signal to the organization that you are actually ready to solve problems, it becomes just a beautiful virtuous cycle of releasing energy, releasing creativity and optimism, and making it clear to everyone that you take the problem seriously.
And that gets us to Tuesday, which then allows us to do what?
Well, Tuesday, the ambition of Tuesday is to create a good enough plan. And a good enough plan is distinct from the perfect plan, which is this fantastical creature that's actually never existed in the wild. So you start with a good enough
for lots
plan.
of consultants, you know.
And what we know to be true about every good enough plan is that there will be broken trust at the heart of it. And so we teach people how to rebuild trust amidst stakeholders as part of that. But the goal of Tuesday is to create the first version of your plan that is definitely capturing how to build and rebuild trust along the way.
Yeah, on Tuesday, we really want you to get into the sandbox, the organizational sandbox, and play. So one of our favorite words is pilot. We run a bunch of experiments on the product side in your neck of the woods. But we do far fewer experiments on the people side and in the rest of the organization. So we really focus that chapter on giving you ideas around how to strengthen the relationships inside and outside your organization.
I want to dig a little bit deeper into the word you use, trust. And by the way, I love the inventorying for people's obstacles and challenges. Francis, you have a very strong Twitter game. And I watched a recent video of yours talking about a class you just where you referenced the Warriors and Steve Kerr. Yes. And how did the coach get the best out of people? And it was, if I recall, like on the y-axis was skill, like showing your skill, and the x-axis was devotion to others, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And so when you're taking inventory, full pages of notes of potential obstacles that folks may have to achieve their highest standard and growth, I think that's a sign of demonstrating devotion to them. Yes. And in your book, you have a strong, I hope so. Anyway, that's what I thought about when you talked about having that list of and having those deep conversations. You emphasize trust, and you see the drivers of trust. By the way, trust is the number one core value at my company, and it has been for a long time. I've been with the company 8 years. Every year, we have very spirited discussions about our core values, and trust has stayed at the top. My definition is competence and character, capability, reliability, integrity, and benevolence. But you talk about drivers of it, and you talk about authenticity, empathy, and logic. And in your TED Talk, the 6 million plus view, the most common wobbly element of it you mentioned is empathy.
Yes.
And you say it's easy to crowd out time and space that empathy requires. It takes real time. Can you talk to us about the three drivers, and then help our audience figure out how do we combat against the busyness of life so that we can properly demonstrate empathy and earn trust with the stakeholders that matter to us?
Oh, pleasure. So the short version of this is that you're more likely to trust me if you experience my authenticity while also experiencing my logic, while also experiencing my empathy. And it's only when you experience all three that you'll have the involuntary reaction of trusting me. And every single time you don't trust me, it will be because of one of those three drivers. And so that's the foundational part of it. Empathy is the one that most often gets in the way. And that's like, it's the real me with beautiful logic, but you are not convinced I'm in it for you. And now there'll be a lot of indignities if we go back to Monday on that. And it's also, there are so many examples of this, but we were just recently working with an organization, and they had customers, and you know how people have different names for their customers. Well, they referred to their customers as ARPUs. It's capital R, capital P, capital U.
Average
So they
revenue
would
per user?
User?
Close, yeah.
revenue paying units. Now, let me just ask you, do you expect them to have a high
feel the
customer
high level of
satisfaction
humanity
or
here.
a low customer satisfaction, right? The lack of empathy, like the lack of humanity.
Our ARPUs
was-
have no CSATs. What's going on here?
Yeah. So it was, so we find that if it's the getting in touch with the humanity of others and making sure, like, are they at the center of what we're doing, and do they experience being at the center of what we're doing? And so your employer, which has trust at the top and works really hard, like you, I believe, have customer events where a lot of people voluntarily show up, like an epic number of people.
It's a festival. It's a festival.
No ARPUs for you.
No
Yeah,
ARPUs.
it's hard to book a hotel room in your city when you're throwing a
But
party.
can you teach that? I give a lot of credit to the guy behind me, because for him, it's very clear that it's not a poster, it's not a signature in an email, it's not a cool slogan. You have to authentically.
Yeah.
So your thoughts, your words, your actions are aligned.
Yeah.
And then it's clear that, we're living our values.
Yeah.
Can you teach that? Can you teach that?
Oh, goodness, yes, because he does it authentically, and he also does it with rigorous logic. He doesn't sublimate the value proposition, right? You also do, your shareholders are also delighted. Yeah. So I actually think it's precisely he is showing authenticity, logic, and empathy at the same time, whereas the ARPU company, it was the real them, and they had their logic, but with no empathy. And so we would say that they had an empathy wobble. Now, the truth is, if they called and said, we want to rebuild trust with our customers, we could do that in the same week that we could solve any other hard problem. But it would start with an empathy wobble. That would be the problem we were solving.
Excellent.
Please call.
Ray, we haven't even
your customers. Please call.
Only the first 2 days.
We're in the first 2 days, but I think the important thing is that, when my bot interacts with your bot, there will be no empathy.
Oh, I disagree.
I disagree.
I disagree.
Empathy.
Yes, it's whether or not you're centered on the other constituent.
Yeah,
Totally.
I mean, one of the exciting parts of AI from our perspective is that we may even be able to demonstrate more empathy in the way that we build the robots. So we've seen some really exciting stuff from Sal Khan in the education space, where the lessons are actually highly customized in a way that our education system can't currently do the way we've designed it. And so it's not a given that in a world with more technology that empathy necessarily has has to go down.
Bravo.
No, it's great to hear. Actually, we can design for it, right? It's by design, right?
Yeah.
And doing it by design, we can actually get much better results, right? Because we can account for things in mass personalization at scale, at speeds we couldn't do in a human level, where we capture the contextual interfaces around that. You talk about some interesting things about how do we create conditions for everyone to thrive, right? And this is an important investment, right? Because ultimately we are people-based businesses, but how do we start on that goal? How do we take that first step to make that investment?
Ray, I think you're hinting at Wednesday.
I wanted to get to Wednesday. We're moving across the week,
which we call Make New Friends Day, which is something that adults generally don't like to do. But the research is pretty clear that when we do that, we're much better at solving problems. And so what we really think about a lot in our work, and we go deep on this in this book on Wednesday, is how do we create the conditions for more people and more of those people to show up in the workplace and contribute the unique ideas and talent and capabilities that they have. And in our experience, you have to do this systematically. And you have to start by making sure that people feel safe and welcome in spite of whatever difference or whatever humanity they're bringing into the workplace. And then again, you earn the right to make sure that they are also feeling celebrated and championed for the uniqueness that they're bringing to work. And so when organizations are trying to figure out where to start on that journey, which is the ultimate journey of competitive advantage, by the way, people talk about this as if it's a soft priority that, may not make the cut this year because, we got to really double down.
We're
on
so
efficiency.
busy.
This is the investment with the possibility of infinite return. And when we see organizations really get this right, they're adding zeros to their performance metrics. But you have to start with the humans in your organization who may not yet feel safe and welcome. And then you get to do the work to make sure that everyone is showing up and thriving.
So instead of being thanked for our time and efforts and going nowhere, right? Our job is to open up the aperture and get to a diversity of thought, right? That's where you're headed at.
Beautiful metaphor.
100%.
My experience is that you can have a sense of belonging, but that doesn't automatically allow you to have a sense of mattering. So how do you make sure people feel that they have a safe space and their work matters? So how do you empower people to move fast? Because I think it was Seth Godin who said people are not afraid of failure; they're afraid of blame.
Yeah.
How do you create a culture? Because I believe inevitably, the faster you move, the more likely you're going to make mistakes, the more likely you're going to fall.
Yeah.
So what do leaders need to do to create a space where you're encouraged to move fast, and when you do make a mistake in the way of fixing things, you're not discouraged to change your habits or a sense of mattering?
Well, the number one recommendation I have is buy Amy Edmondson's new book, Right Kind of Wrong. It's the I'll just say that because it talks about intelligence.
Another
failure.
Thinkers 50.
Another great
Oh,
book. Yeah,
she's
there's an amazing book there.
She's
So.
the Thinkers 50. She's number
She's
one
the-
on that list. She's the Thinkers 50. Just to be super clear.
Yes, number
But
one.
they don't give
yes.
the rest of us ranks, but they're very
No.
clear that Amy's number one.
No,
Yeah.
Amy's number one.
And then there's the rest of us. And you know what? I'm delighted to be there. Delighted to live in
Yes.
Amy's world.
Yes.
Delighted.
You're in good
But what
company.
the thing that is argued here is that if you want people to feel comfortable learning from new mistakes, right? And we refer to it in the book as new beeps. When you come across a new mistake, you want to treat a new mistake as a learning opportunity to be honored and cherished. And you want to squeeze out all the learning you can. Now, repeated mistake, you then want to understand what's the process that's getting in the way, that's having us, because you don't learn very much from repeated mistakes. So you want to fix the process there. But what we have to do is when it's a new mistake, we have to cherish it and honor it and wring out all of the learning. So the way to do this is when there is a new beep, your body language is like, oh my gosh, amazing. Thank you for learning this on the behalf of the rest of us. What should we get? Like honoring it, treating it the same way we treat with, wow, you just broke a sales goal. Great job. How did you do it? Well, you just came across a new beep. Oh my goodness. What can we learn from it so that we get to avoid repeating that? And so I do think a lot of it is our emotional response to the new beeps, or what Amy would call intelligent failure.
Intelligent failure.
It just reminds me when I was younger, I was a shitty manager because I would just show my skills. And I don't think I was nearly empathetic enough or had a celebratory mindset in terms of new mistakes. And, there may be a lot of reasons. My company for a long time was under private equity. So you really had to demonstrate excellence all the time. But
let me just say, there, you just correlated that what you did got more excellence, and it didn't. I want you to stay with the regret that had you celebrated, you would have had even greater excellence. I just want to be clear.
I wish I could go back in time.
Right.
I wish I had your book. I wish I had this podcast. I made a ton of. There were beeps around me all the time. So let's just say that.
But Vala, it really underscores, I think, that this is a really trainable skill.
Yeah.
And we have to override our conditioning and arguably some of our biology here too, because we believe that our job, I'm going to just at the risk of offending your listeners and viewers, that we think our job is to not fuck up. Like, number one, that's our job. And so we really have to retrain.
That could have been our company's mantra. I mean, I can't tell you, we really had no room to, every deadline, every commitment, whatever it took. It was really like a Navy SEAL mindset. It was like, it was brutal. Now, we did achieve a lot, and a lot of successful people and lots of successful exits, and by financial metrics, probably did superb. But it was tough. It was. I used to be 6'6" and handsome, and look at me now. It just crushed me. Yeah, it was hard. It was hard.
Yeah, interesting you brought up the Navy SEALs, because we actually do see in the military some really innovative thinking around leadership and empowerment and creativity, because the stakes are so high.
Yeah.
Because you have, these are jobs where you have to figure out how to make it safe to surface problems, make mistakes, where everybody learns. I mean, these things that have trickled into the corporate world, like after action review, it came from environments that had no choice but to systematically learn from what went wrong, because lives were literally on the line. And, and there's so much we can learn from the organizations that are getting this right, which is why in the book, we really try to index on the positive examples.
And we saw an example of that. Last week, we had Navy SEAL commander of SEAL Team B, Mike Hayes, who has a best-selling book right behind me, and it's titled Never Enough, which he had to explain to us. He said the title was not well liked by him, his parents, and even some colleagues, but he has rationale for the title. And you're absolutely right. Empathy, trust, the giving nature of Mike was incredibly clear to us. And
that's the irony, is we still in the corporate world think of those as soft skills, and they are life or death performance skills to be able to create environments where people can show up and bring their full humanity to problem solving. That's what we're saying, is that we want all of you, and we're going to take radical responsibility as leaders of this organization to creating a context where all of you can show up and contribute.
And this makes a lot of sense. Like when we go back to the SEAL axioms, or slow down, get smooth, go fast, right? And you're helping people to understand how to get this right at a human level before you go fast. Otherwise, everything will break. Yeah. And this takes me still on Wednesday.
We're still on Wednesday.
We're still on Wednesday. How do we actually get to the point where we can, empower people to move fast, right? Just to get them to the point where they understand, right? And you talk about this, I think there's an excerpt about stuff that you were doing, Francis, at Harvard, right? Where there was a change going on at HBS, right? And you were part of that. And you also talk about these in your book, like about Southwest, really getting them to, be bad. Like, I don't know what that means, dared to be bad.
Yeah. So when you've earned the right to go fast, and we have Friday is go fast, and what we caution is, please don't put Friday on Monday, or you're going to have reckless disruption. Don't put it on Tuesday, or you're going to have reckless disruption. And so, what you need to do is, after you get your even better plan on Wednesday, which is really are acknowledging that we really like people who are really like us. It doesn't make us bad people. It just makes us human. We really like people who are really like us. And so chances are we will have consulted with people who are really like us and coming up with our plan. And so here we want you to deliberately find people who think very differently than you do to help improve the plan. Use their lenses. So go and seek difference. By including other people, you will have empowered them, you will have gotten their voices, and your plan will be even better. And so that's what we do on Wednesday. And then Thursday is storytelling day, but I'm going to skip over to Friday for a moment, because I think your points are here. When you have license to go fast, here are a couple of classic mistakes companies make. They're like, okay, I've done all of the things I'm supposed to. I'm going to go fast. So now I'm going to try to be great at everything. And here's what we can guarantee. Guarantee. It's like, what does Charles Barkley say? I guarantee it. We can guarantee that if you try to be great at everything, you will end up with exhausted mediocrity. You will be more and more exhausted.
I can see it. I know what it looks like.
You can see it, right? You can see it.
Smell it.
You can feel it. You know it. Exactly. So what we need to do is figure out what are the things we're going to optimize on. And reverse engineer, what does that mean you have to give up? And if you can't articulate what you have to give up, what you're going to be bad at in the service of being great, we think you're just going to go and try to be great at everything. So we force you to be equally articulate about what you're optimized to be great at and what you're optimized to be bad at, so that you don't slip into exhausted mediocrity.
Wow.
Is that constant sense of urgency and being results oriented? Is that what accelerates possibility of being exhausted?
We love urgency. So just to be super clear, I am a very big proponent of urgency. I think our problems deserve an urgent response.
Sorry,
So
is this the same? The first time I read about like healthy paranoia, I think it was Andy Grove, late 80s, early 90s. I think it was a Time magazine article, and he talked about it. Until we have health paranoia.
I think that it's probably a second or third cousin. I don't know that it's a sibling of it. But what we're talking about here is that you have to understand who you're serving so well and what they value from you so well that you know exactly what you want to optimize on. So I like to use the MacBook Air as an example that everyone can just see in their mind. Yeah. Right? When Steve Jobs introduced that, he had it in the manila envelope. He comes out and he's like showed it. It was the lightest weight laptop on the market. Best in class at weight. Yep. It was also, and he was equally unapologetic, it was worst in class at physical features. It didn't have an internal CD-ROM drive. Let's date all of us on this call, right? So he was now equally unapologetic about both. If he weren't unapologetic about both, the people that were doing physical features, they would have tried to get those to creep in. And the physical features would have gone up and the weight would have come down, right? The winning on weight would have come down. And so we have to not just say, what are we going to win at? We also have to acknowledge, what does this mean we're going to lose at?
The classic strategy power. What are we not going to do?
Yeah.
What are we not going to do, Ray? And I will even say, what are we not going to do well? It's actually a little bit harder than that, right? Because it's not that they didn't have physical features; they just weren't very good at them. So this one is even harder. Yeah,
yeah. We sometimes just refer to it as ruthless prioritization.
Yeah,
and ruthless prioritization is a gift to the organization. Because what we find in organizations that are getting this right, that are making really strategic choices, what to do well, what to not do well, what to not do at all, that the culture is not exhausted, burned out, weighed down by this pressure to perform. It's actually quite energized, optimistic, creative. And so we'll often go in and Francis talked about within seconds being able to, get a sense of what's going on. We're often looking for the emotions of the humans inside these systems. Are they feeling optimistic, creative? Are they tapping into their ability to solve problems, or are they feeling some variation of anxious, frustrated, burned out? And those really are the tells of a non-strategic organization.
So, and we see that a lot with middle-aged companies. And what I mean by it is that they're 40 years in, they forgot the mission and the purpose of the company. They've got a great executive team. They've got a great group of young people coming through, and the middle is just awful, right? The middle has not figured it out. The middle's been there too long. There's been stagnant. How do you fix something like that? Because that's happens in almost every industry that's kind of aged out or matured, right? And they need a revival.
May I, before Anne answers it, may I just offer a counter prescription? I think that the organization hasn't set the middle up for success.
Agreed.
And that the middle is reliably underperforming because of what they're being asked to do.
Yeah. It's all being driven by legal and compliance, and they can't think for themselves, or they're not empowered to be able to be successful.
They're not empowered to think for themselves. So it's not that they can't. And we often think about, we use our colleague Ryan Buell's way of thinking about this, but we think about capability, motivation, and license. We find that middle management has the capability. Yeah. You might have worn them down so that their motivation is waning, but they often don't have license.
No license or agency to do stuff.
And so, and if you go into that situation where people don't have license and you're like, get better at your skills. No, that's not the right prescription. It's give them license and then step back and marvel.
Yeah, we love middle management as a place to go and learn and diagnose what's not working in the organization. It's a really powerful stakeholder group because they usually have all the information.
Yep.
about what's happening. So it's often the first place that we'll go. And if you think of them as a distinct stakeholder and you bring in this framework of trust, that's often a place to start, because often the logic of their job doesn't make sense. They see no path to advancement, even though that's a central part of the contract that you have as an employer. They're often ignored. So from an empathy standpoint, they're not feeling seen, and they're often told things that aren't true. And so there's an authenticity wobble there in that they have heard of this before and no action has been taken, or they have filled out this survey before about their engagement and they have shared how they're doing, and no action has been taken.
Yeah.
And so, we will start there and start pulling on the threads, and they can unravel really in a really fast and exciting way.
Yeah.
Ray, we should be taking their classes. I want to just sit back in your classroom
class.
or virtual. I don't know if it's odd. I think it's just, I think I would.
Yeah, we're good.
Well, in the meantime, read the book. we just wrote it all down.
So you don't
No.
have to take our class.
Yeah.
It's definitely on the book, right? And what we're able to do is end the week. But you're saying, like, you can't do this all in a day. Like, for each one of these are just kind of steps and metaphors to get you out there. What do you have to do to know when you should speed up or slow down? Because I think that's a corollary question to it, because some organizations just can't move as fast. So
Yeah. So I mean, here's what we would just have as the thought to leave in people's head, which is, at the end of successful change, no one has ever said to us, I wish I had taken longer, and I wish I had done less. And yet, every single change initiative, people are giving each other license to take longer and to do less. So what we would say is the best time to start to solve your most important problems is now. In fact, we almost called the book "How About Now?" That is like start now, but don't go fast until you've gone through Monday to Thursday.
So getting Monday to Thursday is the prep time, right? Before you
Yeah.
can get there, right? It's getting all the ducks in order. It's getting the
Getting the
mindset
plan,
ready,
yeah.
getting the culture in place, getting your allies, right? Doing a one sanity check to make sure that this makes the market, gets everyone motivated, and then boom, you're ready to go.
Yes. And
Happily ever after, or where do we go from here?
Yeah, then you earn the right to start it all over again on the next problem.
Oh no,
But
not
we
another.
want you to take the weekend off, Ray.
it's important to take the weekend off.
To do it.
Recharge, recover, right?
Recharge, recover. Where we weren't designed to sprint indefinitely, so you got to take breaks. But yeah, I mean, we're really, we're having fun with this metaphor of a week, and yet you can, if you just look at the hours in a week and you imagine applying that time to really making progress on your company's biggest problems, you would be shocked to discover how far you can get in a single week's time. I mean, our publisher kept pushing us on this because we're like, no, we're serious. They're like, you can't be serious. People will push back. So we are having fun with this, but we want to invite you to try it. We start the book with a variation on a quote that is essentially, what if you fail? And then, oh, but my darling, what if you fly? So fine, take a skeptical approach to this, but what if we're right? The more provocative question is, what if we're right about this? And a week from now, you could have made tremendous progress on the biggest problem facing your organization. And so we want you to try on that worldview and give it a shot.
I think
we're pretty confident. We've seen a lot of this.
And they don't move that fast either. So.
Oh, let's talk about an industry that I'd like a week with. Let's talk about an industry I'd like.
That, or if we can get you in DC and fix Congress, that'd be even better. We need a problem solvers caucus that actually works.
You definitely should try it. What do you have to lose? A week.
What do you have
A week.
Yeah.
You have 51 other weeks to try.
You can do it your way for the other 51.
That's right.
We'll just take one.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on your book. Thank you for expanding our minds. I wish we could spend a week with you. But
and make sure to
you'll
catch.
Consider coming back.
And we should make sure everyone catches their podcast, Fixable. You're on season
Fixable.
2. Quickly tell us a little about why we're talking about fixing things when trust is broken. That's how you're kicking it off. So,
Yeah, so, and I don't know if any of if either of you ever listened to Car Talk.
yeah, click and clack.
Right, click and clack, right? And you could
Sometimes
call
Vala
in.
and I feel like we're click and clack because it's always
Yes,
stump the chump.
indeed. And you could call in with any car, any make and model, and they would solve it. Well,
Yeah.
that's what Anne and they'd solve it in 30 minutes. We've done Car Talk for business. You can
Who's click,
call
who's
in.
clack?
It's actually, I don't know.
I'm
Anne is
Click.
the smart
Yeah.
one.
You're in Cambridge. It's click and clack.
Yeah, Anne is the smart one. I'm the one who does the filler.
And friend. Perfect.
But I do think you can call in with any business problem, and
I
we
love
take
it.
30 minutes to solve it. And it could be the muffler, the carburetor, but we'll get you sorted in 30 minutes.
Yeah,
We're
send
here
us an
with-
email, fixable@ted.com.
Soon to be on WBUR. Francis Frei and Anne Morriss, author of Move Fast and Fix Things. Catch their podcast, Fixable. Twitter @Francis Frei, if you call it X. Anne Morriss, ANNEMORRISS. Thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thank you.
It was
What a
such a
pleasure.
pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congrats on the book. Thank you.
Dude, mind blown. You?
That was too fast, but they did fix a lot of issues I have in terms of
We'll catch them
my-
in the green room.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get something
So-
done in 5 minutes.
So that was awesome. Please, give us a summary of what we just learned in 60 seconds, Ray, because that's a
See,
lot
this is
to
the Stump
unpack
the
there.
Chump we have to tell them about.
Yeah.
They're still on. They can see this. I think they're in the back. This is Stump the Chump. Every week I get Stump the Chump. Here, look, I think most organizations are basically stuck and they want to do things more quickly. There's pressure from the boards, a lot of external forces that are coming at them, and they don't know how to react. And I think we need to get the basic core solving the root cause of a problem. But you can't just solve the root cause of a problem on your own. This is really about thinking through problems deeply, bringing the right people together, having a holistic approach that's inclusive, getting folks together so that we can rebuild trust to actually solve problems, get through tough times. And that's what organizations do. Like high-performing organizations do that, but they don't just jump in and break things. And I think that's one of the myths that Silicon Valley taught everybody, how to have a lot of bad behavior, and with zero interest rates, it worked really well. So, so here we have a book that actually goes back and says, here, let's get to the root of the problem. Let's figure out how to solve this. But more importantly, you can move fast once you get your fundamentals in place. So that's probably not doing them justice, but it's the best summary I can get.
That's awesome. At the end of the day, the trade-off between speed and excellence is false. And the book tells us that the best leaders solve hard problems with fierce urgency while making their organizations better. And the fantastic formula of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday approach to solving the hardest problems and doing it with incredible speed is amazing. So it's no
We can
surprise.
accelerate excellence by moving fast and fixing things.
Absolutely. No surprise. It's a best-selling book, and it'll continue to be highly recommended read for anyone who's responsible for leading any size organization in any industry, in any size company. Next week, episode 339, we have Oren Wortman, VP of Cybersecurity Services at Signia. We have Trevor Rodriguez Templar, CEO of Aviso AI. And we have Carolina Daniels and James Sherman, authors of Smart Startup, What Every Entrepreneur Needs to Know, advice from 18 Harvard Business School founders, where Francis Frei is teaching these founders. So nice link to next week's episode. Well, thank you for watching. If it's Friday, it's DisrupTV. We look forward to seeing you next week, and hope you enjoyed this incredible episode. Thanks all.
Thanks, and we'll see you in the green room.